Today we're taking a first look at the Ritchey Ultra. This is the Ritchey Ultra Team Edition, red, white, and blue paint job. It's a new version of the old classic Ritchey Ultra. Tom Ritchey is one of the founders of mountain biking, and he's still CEO of this company. So many of the companies that I loved from the 90s have been sold off and are under new ownership, but Ritchey is still run by Tom. I'm a total nerd for stuff like that, and I instantly connect with this bike because he's associated with it. When I started mountain biking in the 90s, everything was Ritchey. My stems, my bars, my seat posts, my pedals. It was everywhere, and it's exciting to see it still going strong with modern standards and modern appointments, but it still has the flair of a bike of someone that's been designing bikes for over 40 years. Tom's a beast. He still rides his bike over 10,000 miles a year and runs this company. So this is an exciting bike. I'm super excited to have this in on the channel. When you look online and you read about it, you'd think it's an enduro shredder by the way their marketing copy reads. They say it's bent to get rowdy, it's slack, it's aggressive. It's not compared to the other stuff we see on this channel. It is for Ritchey, and it is for an XC bike and maybe a steel bike with max 2.4 tires, but it's very much a trail XC bike. And that's okay. I just want to call out that you're not going to mistake this thing for a Kona Hanzo ESD. We've got a really interesting build here. When I was talking to them and saying, hey, I really want to review one, they said, well, what do you want on it? And I said, how do you guys ride it? And they said, how about I send you my personal bike? You can check it out and ride it the way I ride it. So this is unique. It's got the rigid carbon fork. I'm excited to try that out. It's got a 34 tooth in the front and a 19 tooth in the back. That's way too stiff for me. I'm not strong enough to push that. It's got 175 mil cranks. It's got a Shimano chain tensioner on it. It's single speed right now. So single speed rigid. The only controls we've got up here are brakes. It can run a dropper post, and I'll probably throw a dropper post on it at some point. But for now, I wanted to ride it the way that the guys at Ritchey ride it, to kind of get a feel for what makes it so special to them. This is a steel-framed hardtail with Ritchey's legendary Logic tubing. They've done a lot of pioneering with budding tubing. They've done a lot of pioneering with tons of stuff. In fact, they were the first company to have front and rear unique tires for mountain biking. They did some computer analysis on tread patterns. They pioneered stuff with butted spokes, with clipless pedals. The list of things that Tom Ritchey has done to further mountain biking is greater than just about anybody else. And so it's exciting to have this classic design in and know that he's still going strong making these awesome bikes. Now, this isn't made by Tom, but it was designed by him. So this bike's built for a 120 mil fork or a compensated rigid fork that has a 500 mil axle to crown. We've got Ritchey WCS Trail 30 wheels, and you'd think with the Trail 30 designation they would be 30 mil wide. They are, but 30 external, not internal. They're 25 mil internal. So this frame takes a 2.4 tire max. I would not want to go any wider than this. What do we have on here? We have 2.4s on here, but they're a 25 mil inner rim. So maybe with a 30i, you could still fit the 2.4s, but it would be close. So you're not going to fit 2.6s on here, and that's okay. We've got dual water bottles inside the frame, fully external cable routing, except for stealth routing for the dropper in the seat tube. It's just beautiful. There's some cool little design features that mass production bike companies skip over, and it takes a true artisan to build it the way that it is. So I'm probably a little biased just because of the heritage of this bike, but I'm really excited to get some dirt on these tires. So this came in at 24.2 pounds with no dropper, no suspension fork, and a single speed drivetrain. So it's not going to be the lightest bike on the planet. It's noticeably heavier than my Marin Team Marin when I've got it set up rigid. That came in at 21 pounds. And I've got some really light stuff on that, but still, these steel frames, even though they're light, they've got nice butted tubing. It's not as light as a really light aluminum or carbon frame, obviously. We've got a really cool externally butted head tube here. Oh, that thing's so beautiful with integrated headset. It reminds me of the New House Metalworks that I've got in for review. Anyway, this thing is just so cool to look at. Now, I like slack, rowdy hardtails, but I also like lightweight, zippy hardtails that aren't too slack. There's this really neat spot between gravel bikes and rowdy hardtails where a bike like the Ultra fits right in nicely. And if that's what you've got in your local area, you owe it to yourself to try a zippy, fun, not overly slack hardtail on that terrain, because it really makes that terrain fun. All right, let's throw it on the geometer to see what the actual real-world geometry numbers are and how they compare to online. Let's take some real-world geo measurements. 440 mil chainstay, 432 rear center. We have a 440 mil reach. Front center is 698. We have a 430 mil seat tube length. Effective top tube, 610. We have a 67.8 degree head angle with the rigid fork, 75.2 degree effective seat tube angle, which is the same as the actual because the seat tube's totally straight. Stack is 603 millimeters. Bottom bracket drops nice and low at 57 mil. That's a nice low bottom bracket. Should corner extremely well. It's actually really interesting because it's got a 440 mil reach and a 440 mil chainstay, and that really makes for a balanced planted bike. I suspect this to be a quick, peppy, zippy little bike, kind of like the Niner Sur 9, the Stanton Sherpa, although not as slack as the Stanton Sherpa, but in that same vein of just a great distance bike, a great long day bike, a great blue trail and green trail bike. Like, I see the videos you guys send from the East Coast of just the flow trails where you're just like in a 5-minute flow where you pedal to keep your speed up and you just keep through these really smooth trails in the trees. I realize the East Coast also has rocks as well, but there are some trails out there that I would love to take this on. I'll bet this would be a fantastic Northern California bike. I'll bet this would be a fantastic Oregon bike. Most trails are not black diamonds or double black diamonds. Most trails are green and blue. There's far more green and blue trails than black diamond trails out there. And a bike like this could be a great ticket to unlocking the fun that is to be had on those trails. But time will tell. I really need to take it out on the trail to see what it rides like. If you're having a hard time deciding which mountain bike to buy next, I offer a bike consultation service over on patreon.com. Patreon.com/hardtailparties, where you can sign up. Whether you're a roadie starting to get into mountain biking or a gravel rider transitioning to mountain bike, or you've been mountain biking for 20 years and you need advice between all the different bikes I've ridden and you want to pick my brain, I love doing that. And I love sharing my knowledge and experience riding all these different bikes. I've helped hundreds of people find the right bikes for their trails so far, and I would love to help you as well. That's my main business. That's how I put food on the table for my family. Becoming a patron greatly supports this channel, and I couldn't do it without all of you amazing patrons. So thanks in advance for those that are going to be using the service. And if it's not in your budget or you get what you need from these free videos, fantastic. Hopefully these free videos steer a lot of people away from bikes that aren't an ideal fit for them and help them narrow down their choices. But if you do need that additional help, I'm available over there on Patreon. This thing is iconic, and it's such an honor to have it in the shop. I was super excited when this thing came out, and I'm even more excited now to see it in person. Beautifully TIG welded frame. It just looks really, really well built. We've got some interesting bracing on the brake mount here. Super interesting bike. So that's the Ritchey Ultra Team Edition. It's been so fun having this on the stand. I can't wait to put some miles on it. Thanks for watching. There's a party in the mountains, and you're invited.